Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for coming back for another episode of Complex Conversations with Sonia. I almost missed this week, but I was preparing something. I am very excited to share something a little new, and it will spark, I think, a conversation. So I think this is the appropriate place to introduce this. I will be releasing a book next year, and the title of this book is After the Innocence is Gone. Now, I do have a separate website which will promote my book, but I wanted to introduce it here and share some news and share a little bit of an introduction. And maybe next week I'll share a bit of an excerpt from my book. But just want to give you some background on this book. So, when I started individual therapy about 5 years ago, one of my homework assignments was to start to journal. And the purpose of this journaling was to help me work through some unresolved issues that developed from my own childhood molestation. Yes, childhood molestation. And so, although not many people in my family knew about the events that occurred, my mother did. And for many years, unbeknownst to me, the events of my childhood would directly affect or impact my views on male female relationships, marital relationships, and it ultimately temporarily destroyed the relationship between my mother and myself. So, this particular event, it stripped away any of my childhood innocence. And as a teen, it caused me to struggle with self identity. And I carried some abusive behaviors into adulthood. So while the initial intent of this journaling was to heal from my pain, it became an outlet for me to put together some of the damaged pieces and to help me identify some of the emotional pitfalls that were a result of this event that happened. And I wasn't looking to blame those that were responsible for the molestation in writing this book, nor was I seeking to discredit them in any way from the adults that they are today. But instead, I wanted to use this book as an outlet that would somehow shine the light on childhood molestation and help someone who may have experienced a similar trauma to initiate the difficult conversations, whether that conversation is with a parent, with the abuser themselves, or with someone that they're currently in a relationship with. So, in this book that will be released, you will see some of my journaling that took place as part of my healing. And it is my hope that with this book, the individuals that will read it read about my experience and how I work through the difficult areas in my life, that the reader will be inspired to start their own journal of healing or their own pathway of healing, whether that would be journaling or just beginning those conversations with someone, whether it be your significant other, your children even. So this book is written for millions of children that have experienced the same childhood trauma, who are now adults, that want to heal from the shame and the depression and the anxiety that comes from being a victim of childhood molestation. And so through this book, I am not only sharing my experience as a child, but I'm also bringing to the surface an opportunity to talk about events like this that are often not spoken about, especially in Black households or African American households. So join me in this journey. Next week, I will introduce an excerpt from my book. Check out my bio. There's a link to my website and blog. And let me know what you think below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thank you for another episode of Complex Conversations with Sonia B.